Right folks, I'm down on the beach again. It's cold, hence the gear. It's not cold in fairness, it's about 10 degrees, the sun's out, but it's that time of year. Something a little bit different now. I've had to alter my trip because of the tides. The tides are always different. Let's move that camera a minute. That's better. Sorry about that, I've cast the other rod slightly across the waves and they're just twanging it. I've done two or three things different. I've got two bigger baits out. I've got a 2-hook paternoster, that's 1 hook here, 1 hook there, and what I call a long drop one, it's got a long trace to it. I've done okay on it in other trips, in other parts of the UK and Ireland. So I'm using that with bigger baits, trying to catch something a bit bigger. And I've got squid on one, a section of squid, and I've got one section of squid and half a giant prawn on the other. On the little spinning rod, the old shotgun rod, I've put 3 hooks close together, ragworm. The ragworm are fresh dug today, and they are definitely tougher. I'm watching because you always have to watch in case that wasn't just a wave banging the rod top. So the thing is, high tide is like 1:30 in the afternoon. There's a high pressure coming in between two big storms. You're having storms all the time. That's when I've previously been fishing, just after that. This time I've gone for the high pressure, which is never good, blue sky. I've never done any good in the daytime. The problem being, I haven't got the time to stay tonight because it's at low tide. It's absolutely the worst way round. Low tide coinciding with darkness. I really want darkness coinciding with high tide. I can't help it, that's what happens, the tide cycle changes. So what happens basically is, you can say the tide changes, they reckon on say an hour difference each day. I find different places, depending where you are, it can be 45 minutes on average. It changes, it gets a little bit later each day. So for me to wait till it gets dark, it'll probably be another, not quite a week, about 6 days, but then I might not get the weather. So you've got to choose the weather and look at it. Absolutely stunning day, blue sky, high pressure. I think it's 12 degrees in the sun, but I don't really hold out much hope of getting anything. You know, maybe if I do get anything, it might be one decent fish, but you know, I'm here in it to win it. In a minute I'll show you how I've rigged up the squid. They're pretty expensive, £3 for 3 squid. Wow. But it is a smaller packet of 3, so I'm going to use 3. Rather than use them whole, I split them down because I've got a pulley panel on one, which is slightly bigger because it's got 2 hooks, and I've got single hooks, so I've had to whip that on with a bait threader. I'll show you how I did that later on. I mean, I'm always hopeful of catching. Did you know that? I wouldn't be fishing here otherwise. I mean, like all fishermen, I wouldn't be fishing if I didn't think there's a chance. There's another guy about 2 or 3 groins down. I can just see the top of the rod top over the groin, so he's come out in the middle of the day. And obviously everybody thinks high water's the time, but I've done okay, you know, going down the tide. So I'm aiming not to use a lot of worms at the moment. I've got to give it at least 2 hours using bigger baits to see what's out there, because you can change baits at the critical time when a decent fish moves through. It could be codling, small ray, bigger smooth hound, anything, you know, a bass. But I've got to give it a shot. But I've personally, me speaking, I've never done any good in here. High pressure down the south coast when it's like this. They like it sort of churned up, and or in the winter, darkness. The best thing is there's not anybody about. All the way down there I don't see any rods, and one rod about 1, 2, 3 or 4 groins down I just see a rod top sticking up. What a day, what a day. There's a wading bird down there, just like a plover. I'll see if I can get it on the other camera. It's quite unusual. I don't often see any birds, anything living here except seagulls. Oh, actually there's 2 of them. I'll see if I can get them for you carefully. I've had a couple of tiny really sort of taps on the squid, and I've got a feeling that's probably going to be small bream. Got that look about it, so they'll probably shred that down, but I'm going to leave it out a good half an hour before I bring it in. If it's stripped hooks, then obviously I have to start baiting up a bit more regularly. Yep, the other thing I've done is to cut my shock leaders off, because I'm on like 50 and 60 pound braid straight through, and I've got a 50 or 60 pound, I think 50 pound shock leader. Why? And I get the odd cast where the leader not snags, because my rings on my rods are for multiplier fishing, not really for fixed spool fishing. I've used them for 40 years like that, but of course years ago as a younger man I did more multiplier fishing. Follow the fashion, as I say. It's all changed now. The fashion's gone round to fixed spools, ease of use, throw it out, and you can cast a long way with some of the modern rods, not my ones, but the modern rods and the fixed spools. So that's what I've got there. Another little point, like I've seen those bites. If I was on mono on the reel all the way through, I wouldn't have seen those bites, almost sure. They're just like this. They're not like this going up and down like the wave, you know, regular. They're just little breaks like this. You think, could be a crab? Of course it could be. But my gut feeling is they'll be tiny, weeny little bream, 4 inches long, something like that. Now you're going to see more bites with braid, but the problem being, how can I describe it? It's more accentuated with braid, so you're more likely to jump to the rod, trying to strike or wind in a little bit too early. So almost let the bite develop with braid a few seconds longer. That's what I feel, so that you haven't got the safety stretch of mono, which is, you know, you can get bites and not even see it. With braid, if it moves half an inch that end, it moves half an inch this end on the rod top. Just another little tip. I could put my beach shelter up, but to be honest, it's so warm. It's lovely in the sunshine at the moment. Sun's going to be going around this way. Quite a bit of cloud over the back of the Isle of Wight there, and rain coming in tonight. Another big low pressure coming in tonight. Not sure it's a storm, but another low one. That's why the waves are big, because there's a bit of a swell running out there. It's better like this than it is absolutely flat calm. But I don't think I'm going to get much till I either drop to very small hooks, which I don't want to, or the light level drops about 4 o'clock, 3:34 in the afternoon, by which time tide will be about 2 hours, probably be where it is now, and then I can move my gear down. This is what I've got to shut down, this thing. Every time I go fishing, there's something going on, you know, aggravation. So I'm going to switch this off now, and I told the wife, if I want to, I'll get her. I hate these things, really. You've got to have them, I know, but power off, my favourite button. Goodbye, see you in 6 hours. Did you see another little tap on that rod, the middle one? Well, the top one, as you look at it, there. Just check that. It's a big bait, so bigger hooks, so it needs to be a good bite. I'm sort of thinking of putting a stinger hook on a really small, let's say size 4 freshwater hook, size 2 or 4 fresh, probably about a size 4 freshwater hook, with a tiny piece of ragworm about 6 inches to a foot up from the big squid bait there. So I've got the bait there, just about width of my finger, say 4 or 5 inches away, a little small hook and a little teaser, and then I can see what these small fish are that are nibbling away the baits. I won't really know until I bring those in and see how badly chewed they are. Let's have a look at this one. I've had 2 or 3 strikes of it. There might even be a small fish on, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what they are. I think the hooks are too big. No, I've got a feeling there might be a fish on here, a small fish. No booties, please, no booties. Weed as well, by the feel of it. Used to catch loads of flatfish here years ago. Oh, watch that wave sucking it back. No. Nothing. Could have thought there was a fish on there. I was getting chewed and chewed. I got a feeling there'd be bream. I tend to find bream in the daytime. Now look at that. All 3 hooks had chews. Right, rigged up again. There's a rig. All three hook baits are close together there. So I'm going to whiz this out. If I keep getting drilled by those small bites, I'll go down to really small hooks. The wind's come up a bit. There's my gap. They tend to have stopped drilling away on the bigger baits there, so they've either shredded them off or perhaps just moved away. There is actually several guys fishing down there. I see several rods just poking up there, so somebody's giving it a go like me. It's not just me. Okay, I've wound in. You can see my squid, although I got those bites on it, it must be really small fish nibbling away. Nothing there, and over here maybe they were pulling on this one. This is the prawn, so I'm going to push that round up over the hook like this, bind it on again with a bit of thread. This time I'm going above and below the eye of the hook there, which will hopefully stop it slipping down. Put a little tip of ragworm on here. Look, this is just my way of doing it, people. You don't have to do this, of course you don't. You can use whatever way you want. I'm going to go round there, but I'm going to bend the rest of the ragworm over the back. Here, can you see? So I just nicked it on the front there. I'm going to bend the back round and then whip that on. So if you're binding 2 baits with worms to, let's say, fish baits, squid, prawns, don't do it too tight because the thread will cut through the worm. So I tend to bind the big bait, the tough bait on first, and you can always fold that tail, look back again. Just get a few turns on it. Now, some people cinch it like this and snap it off. When I've got a soft bait like the worm, I just do a half hitch. Hopefully you can see that. Oh, we've got to put it back because that's my only one I've got. Right, so now what I've done now is I've tied up some 12-pound line, some really small hooks somebody gave me. They were a right peculiar shape, and I'm going to tie those just up here, whipping them over, any old sort of knot, because they might come up here, attack the big bait, and then find this tiny piece of worm. So I'm going up, whipping over itself, if that makes sense, up and back, because it doesn't matter if that slides down, if that makes sense, because it's going to, if they pull down here, it's only going to slide down to the top of the hook there anyway. It just saves me putting all lots of, there we go, that's cinched up nice. Good old granny knot. It saves me putting loads and loads of swivels in, because sometimes the swivels snag up on weed as well. This I can tell you is an experiment today. Then onto this little tiny hook. I need, now I'm moaning about, I've got some good worms, I haven't got any small ones now. I need a piece of a worm. These are all so fresh, they've not been busted yet. They're good worms, almost too good to snap in half. There's one, right. So look, I'm just going to go in. Honestly I want barely the size of my thumbnail there. These hooks are so fiddly. I'll pop it over, snap it. Right, I'll show you. It might tangle when it goes out, it might not. Can you see that? There's my bait. They're going to come nibbling around here, and hopefully they come up to this small hook. I'll do the same on the prawn, and we'll see if we can't find out what one of these critters that are nibbling the baits are. I got them down as bream. Right, I'm going to whiz this out, but it won't be a stratospheric cast because I don't want it all messing up in one big tangle. So you might be able to see it there. The big bait with the small hook just back from it, like a stinger. It's a stinger rig that I used to use boat fishing. I'm going to use it on the beach now. But first, because the tide's going that way, I'm going to bring this other rod in so I don't cast over the top of it. Always bring a piece of pallet wood along because I don't want to be cutting the knife over stones. Of course you can, we've all done it, you know, like something like this, you'd be cutting on there with a bait. Don't do that. Bring a piece of little wood, a scrap. Now if you only got, like I have, 3 squid here, you can make at least 3 big baits out of this. There's the head and the tentacles. I leave all the juice in the middle there. Some people pull that out, I don't. I leave that juice, or some people got it custard in there. I keep the head because you can always use the tentacles for tipping other baits off. If should I run out of worms, I won't because the fish aren't going crazy, but it's more for beginners to get the most out of what you can. And then I find people can split the belly, take out the insides and then strip it. I try and keep that juice in there if I can, so I'm going to cut this one just down the middle like this. Now I'm going to get 2 baits out of this. I'll cut it right down the middle. I'm trying to leave all that juice there. Can you see that? All the insides, because that's all smell and juice and lovely yucky stuff, right? So there's a bait there, which is a sort of a roll on its own. Some people put squid and lugworm together, squid and other baits, ragworm as a wrap. So pick it up carefully, trying to leave all that in there, and I fold both sides round, look, and I'm going to try and stitch the outside of it together using the lower of the 2 hooks. You can do this any way you want. I'm just telling you, this is the way I've been doing it, and it's pretty good for getting the most out of a bait you can. And when you come out the bottom like that, just sort of measure where the hook is, the length of it. Just nick it in through the top. Don't go right through and out the other side. Let's try and do this. It's difficult to film and do it at the same time. And then when you pull this down, look, can you see the hook going down like this? You want the hook, as you can see, sticking up. Then get your second holding hook, if you like, a couple of 3 winds through it, and pin both sides of that together. So that's what it looks like basically. But you could cast it out like that. If you intend sort of blasting it out a bit, you might actually want to put some bait thread on it. Some people like to start at the top, others, you know, start at the bottom and wind up. I don't think it makes any difference. I could start at the top like this. Make sure you don't mask the hook point. and I'm trying to bind those two sides together. And if you can see, I'm keeping all the guts, as it were, from that half a squid strip. Look, there's the guts. I'm trying to keep them inside using the flaps either side, the actual squid meat flaps, to bind it all together. And it's holding, it's making a long sort of tube bait of it. Some people snap it off. I like to actually do a half hitch. I'm always worried it's going to come unravelled. And there you have it. That's a decent big bait for a decent big fish, of which I probably won't catch anything, but at least you know you can get 3 baits. Look, there's the other one. It's already ready to be wrapped up for holding my fingers. You can see it's open, and you just almost roll that over like that and then stitch it up with the fishing line. See the difference between the two? Let's get it out there, see if the fish are impressed with it. Well, I think the weather front's starting to come in. Sun's got sort of behind a very high haze, and it was blue sky, which is back that way. I think it's coming from the west, and there's a line of clouds there I can see now, just starting to build up. So whether I will be able to stay until it gets just dark and low water, I don't know. I think really I'm getting no bites. I think the only chance I've got of getting a bite is when it's dark, about 5 o'clock, something like that, and if you're well down, let's hope the rain doesn't come by then. So I'm going to tough it out a little bit longer. It's heat's gone out, the sun, it's hazed over. Once it starts to drop down to the second ledge, I'm going to put my beach umbrella up, because even though behind the breakwater it's just getting a little bit cool. Right, fingers crossed, one fish please. Well, the tide's dropped right down from up here. I'm getting some small bites on this one. Just there. That is in the bottom. Very, very small taps on that. Oh, still there. That was weird, didn't feel a thing. I wonder if it's something having a go at the bigger bait. So I was up there, now you can see I've moved down here on the second tier. Chair's right down. I've got to get behind this breakwater because the air, the breeze is really cold now because there's a lot of rain coming in. Somebody says big rainstorms coming overnight, and I guess that's this black cloud. So the sunglasses are gone. The thermal gloves are going to have to come out. It's all changed with the UK in there. It all changes. Fishing, 0 bites. That is it. I had a couple of tiny taps, and in 4 hours, I think that's look, you can see it from here. I'm wondering if it's a dogfish tugging at it. I'm not sure. I don't think it's sharp enough. Still there, still tugging. Look, very dogfish like. I'm going to take my beach shelter there. I'm going to take that back to the car. I'm going to take this GoPro camera bag back to the car because the light's going. It's not just going, but it will go. And it's just, I might as well take it back while it's light. There's nothing happening. That fish is still there, I think. I'm hoping, you know, although I've sat here all this time with no bites, there he is. I've got a feeling it's a doggy. I think it's one on. If there isn't, I've missed him. One fish would be nice. Now that's surely a fish. Dogfish, I'm saying, hopefully a fish. Oh no, it's gone really heavy. The weed's off. No, there's a fish there. There is a fish there. Oh, nice dogfish. Yes, sirree. He's missed my stinger hook, and he's got the big bait. Wowee. Success at last. It's been a long time coming, that one, guys. You know what the saying is? Just when you think it's all over. Nice dog, and that was on the squid. Oh, no. Always watch that small hook. So there he is, look. Save the blank, and I'm going to hang on. Told the wife, just put it in the oven. I'll eat it when I get home. Wow, that was a long time coming. That was a long time coming. Down here to keep out the wind for that way, for the sound of the microphone. Nothing, just occasional little bangs. It's weird, there's no whiting. But when I was walking up and down the beach here, I thought, listen, my grandparents had property down there. We used to come down in the summer. I did do some work on the properties when I was about 8 or 10, had to do some sort of work. And the rest of the time I'd be fishing down there, so I fished down here a long time ago as well. The sand has all gone. A lot of the sand is gone. And what's happened is a lot of squishy, gritty type of stuff that's left. Now, one of the guys told me, another beach guy, not today, previously, and I actually filmed further around at Chelsea, they're trying to do the reclamation up here when they squirt all the shingle. They jet it all up, they dig it all up, come around and trying to, you know, do reclamation work, which I get. But while the stones got there, and then they can be bulldozed up, the fine sort of grit, if you like, comes down. And this guy was telling me, he said it's absolutely ruined the ecology of the whole of this bay, because the sediment settled down on top of the live stuff that was there, and that's why the fishing is so hard here. And do you know, when I walked up and down the beach, because the tide's dropped now, I can feel that squishiness that's never used to be there before. There's no question that the beach has changed in my mind. The other thing is, out there, seems to go out, when I bring my lead in, I can feel it coming up over a hump. That never happened before. It was just you get to the bottom of the groins, where the markers are, triangular markers, it's all sand. You just got all sand all the way up. Now, there's a hump there, and I think that is where it's backwashed some of that shingle. And I can feel my lead coming in nice and smooth, then it's like you're getting snagged, and then it sort of floats and comes in again. Look, I'm not saying that's the excuse why I haven't caught fish, but I've come here enough times and struggled to catch fish, as have other guys, and the other 4 guys caught nothing. Then is that because all the inshore ecology has been ruined with this sediment and dredging and all that business that goes on? Give us an idea in the comments page. I'm going to give it about another hour, soak a few more worms, and then that's me off home. It could be Billy 1 dogfish. 2 would be nice. Well, folks, it is all over by the shouting. Is it off? Well, I'm sorry I couldn't catch you guys any more fish. That 1 dogfish, I've been here coming up for 7 hours. The only person here in the cold for 1 dogfish. There are no small fish biting. Now, I know I've got some big baits out there, but I've got those stinger hooks with tiny segments. I'm not getting anything, you know. So it's really weird. I've had another really good bite and a pull down on the big bait, and then gone. I don't get it. The way they're biting, if they are, you know, biting as such, I don't know. So we'll find something else, hopefully to amuse you guys with. It won't be beach fishing for a while. I'm going to wait and get the right tides this time coinciding. I've fished all the way down to the dark. It's low water now. It's going to turn around and come in, and that's me done for about 10 minutes. So I won't get anything on the last winding, I don't think. I've left the 2 big baits out on the 2 rods. It's just a gamble. Look, there are cod around, but they're unlikely to take any small little worm baits. But what I will do is, I've got a bit of bait left. We'll see you guys back in the garage. I'll show you how I store them. They're not great for beach fishing, but they're pretty good for boat fishing. So we'll see you back in the workshop. Might have a last minute fish on winding in. Well, definitely a fish. Dogfish, I think. As I say, it goes just when they thought it was all over. It really was the last cast. Nice decent white in there, and a decent white in there. So at long last the whiting has shown up. My goodness me, they left it late this year. So yes, I think I'll have to throw out again. Well, I'm so pleased I didn't let you guys down. And of course, it gives me an excuse for one last cast. Yes. Yes. As soon as I said where the whitehead, they came. They came and they flicked water all over the lens. So there's a nice one there. All turned out good at the end. I think I'll have one more cast. I think it's the turn of the tide that's done it, people. But there you go. Could take him home for tea, but I let him go for good luck. Well, turned out good in the end. Well, except for whiting, obviously. Guys are going gangbusters now. Who'd have thought, eh? It's got to be the turn of the... No, it's got to be the turn of the tide. Now, if I had 3 rods with small hooks and worms, it will be non-stop, because these bangs on this one on there, that's a big bait. That's out there for a cod. Just so pleased I stayed on. He's still there on the middle rod. That is a big bait he's chewing on. Oh, came good in the end, folks. Turn that. I just want to show you, if you look there, hold the fish, it's easier. There's my big bait. There's that stinger hook. I'll show you how small it is, about a size 10 fresh water. It's there. He didn't take the big bait, he's chewing on this, and he came and ate the small one. And I meant to tell you, the other double shot I had of whiting was on one of the stinger hook as well. So 2 of those 4 or whatever it was on stinger hooks. So we'll see you next show. Fingers crossed I get lucky, but don't leave it so long, Graeme. Oh my goodness, it's been a long day, a long night. Right, I've done this before, I've shown you before. I've got a few worms left here from last night's fishing. I don't like to waste them, they're expensive. The only way I can get a little bit extra, I want to say life out of them, they're not going to fare well what I'm going to do to them. The only way I can get any more use out of them as a hook bait is to do this. Okay, so look, you look at these and you think, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 8 or 10 worms there, but they're good, big, strong worms. They were dug, I guess, yesterday morning when I used them. So I'm going to keep those, but I find the best way to do it if I'm going to freeze these to bung some salt on them. You'll see them spark up a bit. They love that. Not. But this sort of toughens them up a little bit. Okay. Then I'll slide these to a side. I'm only going to need a couple of sheets of paper here. People think, I know when he did this because I can see the date on the newspaper. Wrong. I keep my newspapers about 100 or 150 ago for my log burner, so they're going to be out of date anyway. And then all I do is basically give them a little bit of douche in there, as you can see, and roll them individually. The salt, I guess, maybe dehydrates them a little bit, and you want to keep them separately. They do it with a sort of lugworm wrap, as they call them, and I find at the end of the day they are usable. They're definitely usable for boat fishing, just for dropping down. 2 or 3 like this. It's just a, I'm not saying it's a tip, look guys, it's just the way I do it. It works for me. It might well work for you. A ragworm, you know, generally, if you just did the worm, then they tend to go to mush and there's nothing to use. But I've used this boat fishing, black bream, stuff like that. They've got quite a lot of salt on them anyway, and they're bits and pieces, but I try and get them so they're not touching. This way is ideal if you're going fishing. I'm going to say LRF light tackle fishing off a pier, off some rocks, you're dropping straight down for wrasse. 100% this works. Just get yourself a sandwich wrapper like this. You can use cling film as well. Wrap them all up, and then I know obviously that's a pack of worms. I could put those into the fridge if I'm going to use them in the next 3, 4, 5 days, or in my case just bung them in the freezer and they'll freeze down. I've probably got some others in there, and there's another pack of worms in there. So another tip for you people, don't waste the bait. Well, any fish caught off a south coast beach I consider now a major success. Anyway, let's move on again, because I want to bring you something I'm going to be calling
So we're now talking. Want to hear so much about geoengineering, where they're spraying us up in the clouds with stuff. Now these are vintage slides, so this slide in fact might be 30 years old, and to me, is it nimbostratus, cirrus? But obviously it's just cloud to me. But what we do have with the change in the weather patterns is, I feel, more weed. Look at this guy's boat. He's trying to clear weed out of, I'm guessing, might be a trout pond, something like that. But you can see the huge amount of weed, and we are getting a lot of blanket weed, I find. It's due to the sunlight and clear water. So just look at the algae that's floated up from the bottom of this trout lake, to such an extent that the only place you could cast a fly was by lowering it through a hole, what we used to call jiggling, bumping the fly up and down. One like a firebird fly, which I invented myself specifically for this job, which was fished vertically through holes in the weed. So you have to adapt if you want to catch fish. On a lot of the clear water trout waters, they have to have clear water to catch the trout. Hence the fact if it gets a lot of blanket weed and algae and stuff, they used to put in barley straw, bales of barley straw. In this case, there's a stream running in there. And does anybody out there know what are the factors that make barley straw clear the water? Now there was a place I used to fish called Todber Pond. There were no signs there. When I was a kid, we used to cycle on a bike, hide the bikes in the hedge so that the farmer couldn't see us there, go down, no signs. Well, surely that meant we could fish. Hang on. If you're on a push bike, you could sort of want to fish anywhere, can't you? Anyway, this place called Todber Pond was shallow, big. I don't know why I called it a pond. It's built into two parts. A sort of small pond, which was a pond, and a bigger lake. But it was very shallow. It was actually part of a monastery years ago, and they put the monks, with a massive, massive place, a giant hotel, I think they're now, they put carp in there, which were wild carp. Yes, not very big growing, but of course they used them for eating. And Uncle Graeme and his school kid friends used to go down there. Was it poaching? I don't know whether you call it poaching. Maybe it's poaching, I don't know. Listen, nobody asked us for a ticket. We were kids. If there's no one there, you go fishing. Big perch as well in this place. Bear in mind the age of these slides, that's me standing in the middle of the lake. 1976. I mean, what a year. So we can't really say, you know, and blame the last 2 years, can we? When we had this, 49 years ago, that's half a century ago, and that is me standing in the middle of my fishing lake that I used to, fish. Didn't really ask permission is a word I used to say. And look at it, it's absolutely bone dry, cracked apart to a huge extent. So are there anybody out there of the age that remember the 1976 drought? I caught a lot of barbel then, I can tell you, because you could locate them easier. Here's the small side of the pond. I'll show you some pictures later. I used to climb up the tree and hang out over there. We used to dump our bikes over in the background and those trees way in the distance and sneak across the field, climb up the tree and lower a bread flake down onto the wild carp. Not big fish, I don't know, 5-pounders. This is 72 hours ago, the same lake. And there you go, that was me standing in it nearly half a century ago. The same lake. I don't know why they call it a pond, because it really is a big lake. Split into two. My first carp I caught over in between those two trees, which weren't there anyway. There were never any trees on that bank. And there it is. As a youngster, when we used to cycle there, oh my God, look at Graeme, right? How old's this one? It's even undated at school or something, I guess, just out of school. Cycling. There's the bridge in the background. And first wild carp. That was my first wild carp. We used to bait up in there, close up with potatoes. Yes, that's right, potatoes. I'll show you in a second. Lovely house there. Now, over on the right-hand corner there, I'm going to pan across to it. There used to be loads of trees. It was never, ever a clear bank. You could barely fish it. That was full of trees overhanging. Very, very big tench. A guy used to put it into the Angler's Mail, I think it was, and Angling Times. Over the years, 3 and 4 pound perch there, and I'm talking 50 years ago. Now, strictly no fishing. Don't even look at it. So, where I was fishing over that back, we used to go along this bank this side, and we used to dig potatoes up without the farmer seeing us, just in this field, right where that pond is, right where that little pond is flooding, Graeme. This was not grass, it was a spud fest there. We used to get the potatoes, parboil them, cut them in cubes, throw them out for the wild carp, and that's what we used to catch a wild carp on. I joke not. And that is the exact spot within about 20 feet of where I caught my first ever carp. Those rhododendrons, incidentally, were all overhanging that bank. You could barely fish that bank. We used to have to sneak in, snap holes in the undergrowth there, but now it's all been manicured and put back to what it should be, I suppose, really. But those rhododendrons that you see all clipped and neat at the back were overhanging by yards, really, sticking out from the bank. There, I'm zooming in on it there. So the rhododendrons on the left overhung those two trees on the right, overhung the water on the right. You could barely get there. I know I only lived very close to this. As I say, we used to cycle there. There's a small pond, and that's where I used to hang over in a tree. The tree is now long gone, and that was a little corner for wild carp over there. There you see, there's the bridge from the other side on the small pond. I mean, a fascinating place to fish. I think now it's all syndicated. I did actually talk to a gentleman who walked around there literally 72 hours ago. He was carping there. I don't know what they call anything. Maybe it's stock now, who knows. But when I fished there, it was just wild carp only. Here's a river. Look at the river. That's, believe it or not, a riverbed, totally almost dried up with a trickle of a stream running through. This is years ago. This is an old slide. This is not recent. So we did have major droughts years ago. Now, that might seem nice with that nice hot, dry weather creating droughts, but we all know we live in, well, it's a maritime climate, isn't it, here in the UK. So it can be cold, but it can also be mild as well. And when it gets mild, it means nowadays more and more and more wind and rain. I first noticed it when we were tench fishing. Used to do a lot of tench fishing with a float on a place called Fleet Pond. Again, very shallow, had some good catches, no big fish there. You know, pike to just under 20, tench probably averaging 2.5, something like that, but a lot of tench there. It was really good fun back in the day, not now. Anyway, I noticed then in the 1970s it was changing, and of course we are getting more rain. There's more moisture in the air. I believe, this is theory time, don't forget, that where the ice caps are melting, it's going up in the sky, is then coming down as blanket cloud, and depending where the jet stream is sending it, we either get very dry weather or very wet weather. It does seem like the scientists say we're getting more extremes coming in either direction. Okay, we all know a ring around the sun like that, best not to look at the sun, Graeme, but I did it with the camera, is a sign of rain. And I believe the closer the circle is to the sun, the quicker the rain's going to come. And I'm going to put that down as rain in 48 hours. Somebody else tell me. So we're all, as fishermen, interested in the weather. But look, this is what happens. Because of soil erosion on the edge of the banks and mismanagement, the tree goes over into the river. Nobody cuts it up. So that causes an obstruction, doesn't it? Which pushes the river, when it does flood, into the edges of the bank and scours it out even deeper and makes it, yes, shallower. So we can't say we don't know about global change when so many trees, giants like this, are getting blasted over by the increasing number of storms that we get. And I believe the increasing amount of wind we're getting. We're getting less still days, in my experience of, 60 plus years. One thing I do always rant about is the ivy on trees. Does anybody notice the ivy on trees? A lot of the trees that go over in the winter have this huge blanket ivy all over them. What you normally do is cut a slot in it, top and bottom, in the ivy stem, try and kill it off, but it creates a big amount of resistance when a storm comes through. Wet ground in the winter, over it goes, total waste of a tree. Nobody seems to know. And of course, the same storms bring what we often see now and have seen a lot this past 2025 winter, even today as I speak, floodwater increasing. We're getting more rain come, I believe. I think from the ice caps melting and putting the moisture in the air. We're getting more of this, more and more of it. From the winter, we used to have fantastic fishing throughout the winter when we used to get frost and snow, etc., ice ups, so let's say from January to March. Now, tell me if I'm wrong, guys, do tell me if you fishermen out there. All we seem to do is get floods around Christmas time, and then they just don't go away until the season closes. It's almost as though somebody, the powers that be, up above if there is such a thing, or a person, is just creating this to mess up my winter river fishing. Yes, I know you can catch occasionally in river floodwater, but I feel far better if we could get a lot of them cleared out the river systems and the lakes with something like one of these 360 long arm, I'm calling that a high mac. 360 means it goes down a circle, it's got caterpillar tracks, get it in there, you can swing the arm up, you can get rid of the rubbish, you can help pull trees out, you can clear up weed beds. It was what was done years ago. Guys, this is a really old slide. Somebody would know by the machinery. And that is what I think we need now. And when I was a much younger man, we would see a lot of the next few frames. You see this all the time. Powers that be would be out electro-fishing rivers, restocking them, moving stuff around, checking on densities, checking on the river. Do they do it now? I mean, if they get in the rivers now, let's face it, probably find their waders would melt. Now I've been out on some of these parties, watching and filming mostly for still pictures for the many magazines I used to contribute to on electrofishing, netting, fisheries management. Do you know, where are they now? I don't see it being done. Maybe on a few pucker trout streams it might be done, but on general larger rivers, are they out there? Somebody tell me. This is electrofishing, I believe. I've never seen anything so archaic on this gentleman's chest. I hope he doesn't fall in the water with that all being live terminals or whatever. But they used to do this. This is years old. You can tell by the pillared effect on the side, the two black marks down the side of the picture, that is in fact a very old slide that I've converted with my scanner to digital. And look, a lovely clear stream. And they used to electrofish. If you see the little circle that looks like a landing net, that draws the fish up with a shot, doesn't harm, just stuns them. And then the gentleman there in the blue shirt just nets it out. They can either weigh them, measure them, put them back, transport them. And of course, they used to do this, which was testing the water quality. I mean, there are in fact, I believe, kits that private people can get now to test water qualities. My goodness, they need to do it. But will anything ever be done if you come up with horrendous, information? This, believe it or not, is just in from the A30 outside Hartley Whitney in Hampshire. Lovely looking lake, isn't it? Beautiful lake, probably carp in there. No, I'll tell you what's probably in there, or was, cattle. That is just a field that's totally flooded from a tiny stream. It looks like a lake, does it not? It never used to flood. It is a flood area. It would constitute being on a flood plain, which is where they're now, I believe, building housing estates and stuff. And there's the fence, to give you an idea, and it was an electric fence there. I can see the little terminal bits on the posts. It's going through to the next field. I mean, they should be stocking it with trout, not cattle. And that's a local one for me. I popped down the road. Look at this. This is ditch water that's come out there. It's not a river that's burst its banks. It's water that's come out of the land. Here's the river. And when I get further up, it's only a small river, this one. When I get right up here and driving along, luckily I've got the head cam on so it's a bit bumpy. Look, you can see the footbridge is actually underwater. The road in front of me is getting closer and closer to the bank on the other side. The river's way over on the left, and I'm going to try and get through this bit here. Ordinarily, I wouldn't do it. I just wanted to show you folks. There could be a manhole cover under there, people, so be very, very careful going through flood water. Go through slow. And this is, wait for this, yes, it's Uncle Graeme's back garden, which has flooded for the third time this winter. Yes, that means since January and February. I've pumped it out once, I've pumped it out twice, I haven't bothered pumping out. The third time, the best thing I can do is stock that with fish or put a boat on it. So there you go. I'm suffering, same as everybody else. Look, it's still bubbling away there. So this came up literally through groundwater, that's why the bubbles are there. It had already been up to my house, splashing up the side there. Now, being an all-round angler, obviously I've noticed it on the sea as well. And the reason I got rid of my boat, high sea drifter, I just wasn't able to get out and get a 3 or 4 day settled spell where it's worth me trailing it 50 to 250 miles to go fishing. The wind is just, it goes down for like, I call it a 1 day wonder. That's why I call it a 1 day wonder. But I do wonder, listen, theory time here guys. Should we be looking at some of the records from years and years ago, I don't know how long, say 150, 200 years ago, from, as weird as it seems, lighthouses. Now why lighthouses, you might say? Well, surely they would have the most consistent of airflow, wind flow, because they have a flat sea which the wind is coming over. Whereas if you're doing recordings inland, in hills, mountains, valleys, whatever, generally on the land, as the wind comes off the sea, it's sort of broken up. So I'm just, again, theory time thinking, are the winds inshore, inland, not recorded quite the same as they are constant, a constant wind, out from lighthouses? Tell us out there, theory time experts. Do lighthouses have records of wind direction, obviously barometric pressures and stuff like that? Moreover, do they actually, are they automated? I know a lot of the lighthouses are automated now. So do they keep an automated record? If so, does anybody, I wonder if we've actually got somebody watches our show here who is a lighthouse keeper. That would be something. Tell us if you are a lighthouse keeper. Do you keep records and do they show any significance? That wine was strong. Any significant increase in wind strengths and consistency? Check these pictures out. And also, who knows what some of these lighthouses are? Have I picked the right ones? Now bear with me on this. This is lighthouses, there you go. Surely some of the lighthouses have got all the gadgetry and all the information storage stuff for meteorological surveying. And here I was out bass fishing with Norman off Beachy Head possibly 40 plus years ago. Great place for bass obviously. But if I get these lighthouses wrong, somebody tell me. These are the ones I seem to remember when I was out filming stills and fishing from them. Great days pollock fishing there. This is way down off the Isles of Scilly, southwest corner, the farthest point southwest you can get in the UK. Been over there many, many times, even written a little booklet on it. Over in Ireland, yes, I was fishing around there as well. I think that is the one it is. The fast net. In fact, I was over there fishing on the west coast when they had the terrible storms and they had the fast net disaster with the yachts. I was over on the west coast of Ireland. So could not some of these lighthouses have information on a constant wind speed and say, yes, the, I think called average mean speed of wind over a period of, let's say, 30 years, the last 30 years, has in fact increased. That's what I want to know, increased. We all know that gales can come through, but has the overall mean temperature, if there is mean wind speed, if there is such a thing, has it been constant? Is it the same? Or as I feel it is, because I can't go out boat fishing, is there more breeze stroke wind than ever before? And also, are these guys going to be able to tell us information? Are they getting more call outs on the Coast Guard in, let's say, the last 5 years than they have had in preceding years? I'm going to think with, obviously, all the wind increasing they have. Now, theory time, isn't it? This is, again, just over 72 hours old. I want to know why the rooks are not building their nests in the trees when March is, yes, but 1 day away as I'm finishing the edit on this one. They normally build up there and they just sit in there. I want to know why that is. Does it all happen some particular Easter? And normally if they build their nest high, it means good. If they build their nest low, it's bad. So let us know in the comments any opinions or theories you've got of your own on current weather patterns, and is it affecting your fishing? Well, I just popped down to Todber Fishery, had to go down, see Mark and book up a couple of nights accommodation, a little bit of accommodation for myself, wife, daughter, just a little break. Yes, I feel the fishing rod will have to go in the car. And while I was down there, I couldn't not go in to see what Mark was up to, and a little bit of information here, fishing for you, might be of interest for the future. So Mark, tell us exactly what's going on down Wadmill with these pike that are in there.
Yeah, so we've had a good number of pike caught recently. Nothing stupendous, but you know, well into double figures, and yeah, really fit, nice, healthy-looking fish. At the start of the winter, we didn't necessarily promote the pike fishing because we used to regularly stock them, but we haven't done in recent years. So it was a pleasant surprise to see so many, you know, starting to make an appearance and looking very, you know, fit and healthy.
And what sort of tactics, what would you recommend if people want to give them a go?
Dead baits and lures, I mean, because it's coloured year round, because the amount of carp in there, the lures and things can be a bit hit and miss, I'll be honest, but they do work. But having said that, your sort of general stuff, dead baiting, mackerel and other sea baits, or there's a healthy amount of silverfish in there. So, you know, we do have, you know, your skimmers and your roach dead baits, also well worth a try.
So that's what they're eating, basically, they're feeding on those?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So there's a really healthy stock in there of roach and skimmers.
And the thing is, a lot of people don't realise you go to a carp water, which you think is just a carp water, and the other species get neglected, they don't get fish for. And the next thing you know, within a few years, you've got different species,
definitely,
you know, that are doing really well, bream, roach, rudd and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so,
they seem to be really thriving, and also the perch are making a comeback as well.
Oh, is that
nice.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, the perch fishing for a couple of years has noticeably been on the up. Nothing huge, but just sort of getting into the £2 mark now.
Oh, decent size then, yeah.
Yeah, really good.
Those would be, can you use like prawns and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Or lobworms?
Yeah, certainly can, if you can avoid the carp doing that. That's the only downside.
Right,
But yeah, absolutely, those sort of tactics work very well, yeah.
And you've been selling out, I hear, of a special lure you're going to show us.
Oh, the special lure, yeah, so very limited. We're the only shop, as far as I'm aware, in the UK with these. So Duo have done a collaboration with Pokemon. This is the last one we have left, but as you can see, it's the detail is incredible, and yeah, very special lures. Pikachu and Psyduck went very quickly, or Koduck as it's also named, but yeah, Kygore's the only one we have left now.
These are the names for idiots like me. They're the name of the Pokemon cards or something.
Yeah, that's right, from Pokemon, which is obviously huge. I don't know if people are buying these to fish with or collect, but just something very different and very cool.
And they come with what type of hooks and that with them?
Yeah, you got your trebles on there. I mean, these would be used for black bass in Japan, but obviously we would adopt them over here for realistically only probably pike is the only thing that's going to
surface with those sort of paddles.
Surface, yeah, crawling action. But yeah, I can actually show you this one here.
Whatever will they think of next? But I can see if they used to collect the Pokemon cards, there's no reason why they don't collect a Pokemon lure. Oh my god.
Yeah, there you go. So your trebles.
Ultimate bling.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, amazing detail, as you'd expect from the Japanese brand Duo, and obviously, yeah, just incredible.
I wonder what that goes like. It's marabou, like a marabou, isn't it?
Yeah.
Flies. When it gets wet, it would be pulsing as well.
Yeah. Mad.
Almost need to get one just to see what it looks like. Have any of you guys ever used one of these? And tell us what sort of action you get with it.
So there you go. You can have a crawling action, something like that, but it will look a lot better on the water.
It is, that's weird, isn't it? It's always something, and of course down here, look at Todber's range of lures. It's just immense. And of course, as we're talking about this, getting towards a hint of spring, how's the carp fishing going here at Todber?
Carp fishing's going very well, actually. Just on the change, as you say, with the weather. It's been, you know, with the seasons not quite like they were.
Yep.
It's been a testing sort of time on the lakes. Plenty of water around and fishing very inconsistent, but certainly in the last kind of week to 10 days, massive improvement. Yeah, some good hits coming out, some nice carp, and dare I say it, only probably a couple of 3 weeks away. You know, hopefully that big thing in the sky appears and the catfish will start playing ball.
Fingers crossed, Mark. Thank you very much for that. I'm going to pop into the food department next door into John's place. It's really nice in there. We're going to eat in there, and I'll perhaps have a quick spin around the lakes and have a look. But thanks for that, and look forward to getting down here and having a go for the pike.
Enjoy.
As you can see, I was down there with the wife. I went down to book up a couple of nights there in their accommodation. They also do accommodation, and they've got this fabulous, now fitted out restaurant area. the Lakeside restaurant, definitely food's really fresh. If you like your desserts, a lot of them are fresh made, and my wife said it looks good, and we ate there. So if you're down and you're in the tackle shop at Todber, it's right next door to the tackle shop. I think it's worth a pop in, even if you went, say, on an evening or something, or a special night. You can even do skittle bowling there. So check it out. If you're down there, get some grub as well. So there you go. If you enjoyed Theory Time and you want another one, let me know. I have plenty of them cooking around in the little bonds up here. And listen, what about all this geo weather thing they're telling us about, which to me is just a vapour trail from a plane. But people say, no, they're spraying us with stuff. I have to ask myself, why would they spray us with stuff? And if they're 30,000 feet up, if they're spraying us with stuff, surely it just blows away and goes to the continent or over to Europe, or where does it go? And more important, what is it for? Why? Let us know in the comments page, because all these theory things, they might just keep you awake at night, churning around all these different things like I do. Join the club with Theory Time. If you enjoyed it, let us know in the comments page. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this one. It took a bit of putting it all together. A lot of old slides there, and it's all a bit of fun at the end of the day, isn't it? Especially if I'm not going fishing, I can go through these slides. If the weather's that bad, you might see more slide stuff coming. Don't forget to watch TA Outdoors, and I'll see if I can rustle you guys up another film to pass the time and keep you interested and get you talking. Let us know on the comments page. See you next time.